Dear everyone, how are you? Welcome to a brand new video at Beyond the Cloud. Today, we are going to talk about one best and least known feature of EC2, instance metadata. Why is this so important? You will know after the video ends. Initially, it was instance metadata version 1. Now we have version 2 already available. We will discuss about both versions, instance metadata version 1 and 2, their differences, how to check in which version you are on, how to switch between version 1 and version 2 and much more. Along with that, I will also highlight some of the most important security feature of why is this so important. This video contains basic understanding and practicals as well. Please let me know how you like this video and what do you want to know more about this service. Please like, share and comment your thoughts. So sit tight and enjoy. Let's get going. See you in tutorial. Hello everyone. Welcome to the tutorial. So let's talk about EC2 Instance Metadata version 1 first. So we will go to version 1 and then we will go to version 2 and then we will see the differences. So what is EC2 Instance Metadata? Let's talk about instance metadata, these two words, right? Instance, we all know, AWS, EC2, Elastic Cloud Computing. We can host servers, we can host database, we can do multiple things around it. We can host our applications there, and metadata. And so this is EC2. And what is metadata? Metadata is data about a data. So what does it mean? In this case, it means data about an instance, that is EC2. So in simple terms, it means information about EC2 instance. Now question is, what type of information? Metadata is, if you see the picture here, you will understand it shows various types of information about instances. Don't bother about this URL right now much because we will come to this later. So the information about the instances include AMI ID, host name, IAM, instance credential, instance ID, then MAC address, network address, and so on. So in a nutshell, it is the heart of an instance and it is very important to protect it. So now let's talk about the service to access this metadata, which is called IMDSV1. This is a service which needs to access this metadata. So that's why it's called metadata service. And this is the launch service of this is the first launch service of metadata. That is why it is called instance metadata service version 1. To access the metadata, we need to invoke the metadata service by this URL. So this is the URL of the service. So if you are wondering now, I hope it is clear what is this URL all about. This is the URL to invoke the metadata service. Now this is IMDS kind of a least known service and the best feature of AWS. Why I call it least known service? Because whenever we want to work with an instances, we always spin up the instance, we build our application on it, and then that's it, and we forget about the metadata service and what not. So this is the least known feature, but it is the best known feature to protect it. We have to protect it. And from security standpoint, this service is most important to cover and not to expose over internet by any means. As we have IAM credentials, if we see an IAM credentials attached to it, so anyone can access this and do evil work in the name of our instance. So if they take the credential of EC2 instance IAM role, and if they delete an S3 bucket, you don't know if an S3 bucket is deleted by some person using that role or the EC2 itself. So now you understand why this particular URL or why this metadata service is much important. Then we have this URL, which is actually the metadata service URL, which triggers this service and give us all the data. We can also view the IAM role that I told that attached to it. But remember, this is very different than user data. This is not user data is different than metadata. So if required, we will get another video and we will talk about user data at that time. So I hope in metadata is kind of a, you can imagine a picture of metadata right now. We will move on to the version 2 of instance metadata, what AWS has designed. So what is instance now? Now we are talking about instance metadata version 2. So where AWS came up with a token based approach. It is a session oriented method where user has to give a put request to access the service or to initiate the session, and when user will give the put request, AWS will return one token, and then that token user has to access all the metadata service with this token from now on to for a get request for access the metadata service. So this is very different than a traditional request response method, which was not at all checking any token. The token is instance specific token. So that means if you have 4 instances in an account, and if you have created one token in for one instance, you will not be able to use that token for another instances. So keep in mind, this is very instance specific. And also in the put request, we have to specify one TTL, that is time to live, that how long the token will be valid. So we can give a maximum of 6 hours for this token validity, and after that you have to generate a new token to access the metadata service. In the token itself, you can choose, so within the 6 hours, you can choose if you want to reuse the token or you want to generate a new one for every request. So that depends on your architecture or how you are doing things. It depends on every use case. Now the most important part is the X forwarded for header, the last line. This is the most important feature. So why is this required? So basically you will understand why this whole instance metadata version 2 is required instead of instance metadata version 1. So so imagine in a proxy request we find X forwarded for header, which actually tells us from where the request is generated and if we can trust it. We basically don't care much about the trustworthiness. Sometimes it is observed that hacker use this header to get into any system even if they are not trustworthy. The X forwarded for header is untrustworthy when no trusted reverse proxy, example load balancer, is between the client and the server. The X forwarded for header has been designed to identify clients that communicates with server located behind a proxy. Since proxies is the eyes of such server, they should not allow for the skewed perception of reality. The client should not decide what should be included in this header, and also the protected server should not blindly trust the client. They should, I mean, we are, as I said, we are not checking the values for the X forwarded for, so we are actually trusting blindly. So AWS said, okay, we will block every request that are any X forwarded for header in that. So if there is any request coming from a reverse proxy or a different firewall mechanism that this header is included or will be attached to it, which might be untrustworthy, then it will be rejected. So in my opinion, this is not a huge solution, but this is something rather than nothing. So we will see this in the demo that how it works. So let's get going with our demo and let's get started with our practical now. So welcome again in the practical. So I don't have any EC2 instance right now. So let's launch one EC2 instance. So I will launch one Linux instance. I need only one instance, that is okay. And I will go with T2 Micro, which is free trial eligible. I don't need any key pair right now. For network settings, I will, this is not a very good security mechanism, but anyway, I will keep for this practical allow SSH for everywhere just to connect with the EC2 Instance Connect. And then I will leave everything as it is and I will launch the instances. And let's see if it is launched. So this is my instance. Currently it is pending. So while it is come up, I will show you the command that I will be using to for this demo. So let me first give you one example like this one. This is the metadata URL, metadata service URL, which we will do as curl this URL, and we will get the metadata service invoked, and everything will be shown as it is. And this is version 1. So in version 1 this will work like that, but let's move on to version 2. So in version 2 we will first create a token. So how we will create the token? We will do one put request. If you remember our slides, this one, so we have to do one put request, and this will initiate a session for the instance metadata service. So that's what we will be doing. We will do a put request in this URL, the metadata service URL, with the header, TTL header. We are giving currently 6 hours timeline. So for 6 hours this token will be valid, and whenever we will give that, AWS will return a token which we will use in our subsequent GET request. So this is the one we will be using, and this will return our GET request. This is a GET request that we will be giving, and it will return our metadata information, EC2 instance information. This is the token that we can generate every time in a new token will be generated, or we can use the same token and we can just append the instance ID or the IAM role that we want to use, and the same token will be used. On the next step, I will be describing you how the EC2 instance we can see this particular configuration, or the token configuration, or where is the instance metadata version 1 and version 2 is defined, and how to modify the version 1 from version 2, or how to modify from version 2 to version 1. So this will be second part. So let's go ahead and check if our instance is ready now. Let's refresh. Yes, it is ready. So let's connect this one, EC2 Instance Connect. So it is connecting. Okay, we are inside the EC2 instance, and let's grab the first URL, and then we will be doing curl this one. And yeah, as you see, we are using instance metadata version 1 right now. So how we are using instance metadata version 1, that I will also show you, but as it is not session based, I have not generated any token, so it is a version 1. So you see here, I have lots of things, right? AMI ID, then host name, then instance ID, everything. So let's do again metadata, and then maybe the AMI ID. Let's check this one, and I see the AMI ID has been generated, and it's like AMI0 AA7D. So let's verify this one. We go to our instances, and we have our AMI here, our AMI ID AMI0 AA7D, and this is the same one. So we see that every information about our instances is present in this instance metadata, and we can see lots of other things as well. So instead of AMI ID, if I put instance -ID, it will return the instance ID. So that is 03B72. That is our instance 03B72. So you understand that just doing a curl request, and it is currently open to world, because we see in the security group it is currently allowing everyone as an incoming connection, and if they come here and just do a curl request for this instance, and they can see everything. Right now the IAM profile you will not see, but I will show you if the IAM profile also comes into picture. Now let's go ahead and move to version 2, instance metadata version 2. So what I will do, I will generate a token, this one. Let's copy this one and let's paste here. So this command will generate a token. I hit enter, and you see the token is generated. Now let's use the same token and curl the metadata. I am using the same token that is generated here and this one. So I will increase the font a bit. Okay, so this, okay, I hope you can see it better now. So you see here, we have given the token like this, and now the token is generated and we have used the same token here, and then it returned. So let's check the response one more time. So it's connected to this port in port 80 here in this metadata service, and the accept is this is like star star, that means no file format I have specified. And this is the token, this is the same token that I have generated before, and it is using the same token, x AWS EC2 metadata token. You see here x AWS EC2 metadata token, and this is the TTL here 21584. I have given 21600, so from 600 to 584 I have given this command, so it took some time, so it this second got lost. And then we have EC2 web service, and then we have AMI ID and everything, instance ID and everything. So this is how the second generation of metadata version 2 works. Now the question is, when if we have generated the token, we are using metadata version 2, will the version 1 work? Yes, it will work. So you can very well do it again, like without any token. You just curl the request and you see the instance ID we are getting. This one is the instance ID, the same instance ID. We did not use any token mechanism. Now let's use again the token one more time, and this is the one, and then we will give maybe instance ID, and we see that this is the same instance ID that came up here. This is the one, that instance ID, this is the instance ID, and this instance ID is same. And so previously we used version 1, now we have used version 2, and we got the same result. So this is very easy, right? Now let's talk about, if we are using version 2 and version 1 on the same time, and suppose you don't want to use version 1 anymore, so how should we do it? It's also in the second thing. So the thing is, the question is, how can we check which mechanism or which instance metadata service is currently in use? So for that we have to go to Cloud Cell here, and the Cloud Cell is launching. So this is the Cloud Cell, you see it's already launched. Now let's go here and grab our credentials. So let's first clear the screen a bit, and now let's grab this command, and we have to give the instance ID there. So what we will do is we will paste it here, and for instance IDs I will grab it from the different screen here, and then I will paste it here. So now I'm saying, hey AWS, describe the instances where the ID is this one. So this will describe the instance for me. And now here, if you scroll down with your down arrow key, at the end of the information, you will see the instance metadata service which is used now here. So now if you see the metadata options, right, we see that state is applied, HTTP tokens optional, put hop limit is 1, HTTP endpoint enabled, protocol version 6 is disabled, and instance metadata tags disabled. So this, the second line, HTTP token, this is very important. So right now it is optional. That means you can give it either or you don't give it. So if you don't give it, that means it is version 1. If you give it, good, that is version 2. So this is how it is supporting both instance metadata version 1 and version 2. So now if our requirement or it is very good practice, if we want to go ahead and change this one and do, like, if we only want to use version 2, how should we do it? So let's go back and take our second command, this one. Now go to Cloud Cell again and just paste it, and instead of instance ID, we will grab the instance ID from there again, and then we will paste it here. This is the one, and then hit enter. That's it. So what it did, it actually EC2 modify instance metadata option instance ID for this instance ID, modify the instance metadata option, and make the HTTP tokens as required and HTTP endpoint enabled. So our HTTP endpoint, as I remember, just let me search it. This is okay. So this one. Okay, sorry, here. So here it shows HTTP tokens required, but earlier it was HTTP tokens was optional. So now let's check again and describing it, and let's describe it and go down all the way down, and then here we see metadata options. Currently HTTP tokens is required, so right now it is not optional. So if anyone does not give any HTTP token with the request, it will be rejected. How we can verify this one? Let's go back to EC2 and let's try to connect, or let's try to grab the service with EC2 Instance Metadata version 1. I think this one is the one where we are doing curl only this one instance ID. Let's see. Here we got the response as 401 unauthorized. That means our instance metadata version 1 is not working anymore. Why? Because we have changed the HTTP tokens to required. So that means every time you give the instance metadata service, or every time you invoke the instance metadata service, you have to mention the token. Now if we go back, and as we are saying, we get unauthorized in version 1. So let's go ahead and check for version 2 and see if it is coming up or not. Now it is coming up for version 2. If we mention the token, we see here, this is the instance ID. So now our EC2 instance is secure and it is using EC2 Instance Metadata version 2. Again, we can check that how it is secure if it has a X forwarded for header, right? So let's grab the third command where we have X forwarded for a header, which I described in my slide, and paste it here, and it has a X forwarded for header, and let's see how it come up. Okay, it says forbidden. That means, hey, in your request you have one X forwarded for header, and I don't trust this URL anymore. I don't trust your request. Even if you have a token, I don't trust this, because if you have a X forwarded for, and we don't support any of that. So that's why it is forbidden. So this is how AWS has came up with this solution, and it actually give this instance metadata version 2 from version 1, and I think we should be always using version 2 instead of version 1. Another simple thing, or another important thing that I wanted to show to you, is that how you know that version 1 and version 2 is both right now enabled. So if you go back to your EC2 console, and while instances and while launching the instances, if you come down in the advanced details, you will be able to see the metadata accessibility. Here the metadata accessibility is enabled, and metadata version is always version 1 and version 2 token optional and version 2 token required. So right now the metadata token is two option you can give, either optional or required. So if you give optional, it will be supported by version 1 and version 2 both, and if you give required, it will only support version 2. I think from security standpoint, it is very much important to use always version 2 rather than version 1, because in that case you know that which requests are coming in, and the reverse proxy you can block. and X forwarded for header, you don't have to think about it. So I think this is a very good improvement by AWS, and I hope it is much more clear to you now what is version 1 and version 2, and what is the difference between AWS metadata service version 1 and version 2, and when to use what. So based on your application or based on our use cases, we can very well define version 1 and version 2, and we can use both of them. One more very important thing I wanted to show you is the IAM credentials. Like, this is another reason why the instance metadata service is very important from a security standpoint. So let's go back to the instance and let's check our instance. Right now our instance does not have any IAM role. Let's create one IAM role and let's get attached to it first. Okay, before that, let's go ahead and check for instance metadata version 2. Let's check if there is any IAM role attached to it. If we give metadata, if we scroll up, we see the request, the response, and currently there is no IAM profile attached to it, right? There is nothing. Now if we go back to EC2 instance and from actions, security, modify IAM role, and right now I don't think I have any IAM role, so I will create one IAM role. Let's go to the IAM console. Okay, it's opening. Create role, I will use EC2 as my service. Then next, then I think I will just give a read-only role. Let's check where is the AWS read-only role. Let's go back, go to page 2, and I can see read-only access. So I am creating one instance profile which only have read-only access, and I am going next, and then role name EC2 instance role. That's all. E is missing. Okay, EC2 instance role, and it has a assume role for EC2, the trusted EC2. This is big because this is a EC2 role, and I have only used read-only access, and I will give a tag. So basically, in my previous video I also said that please mention a tag whenever you are creating any resources. It is very much important. So then create role. So while the role is created, let's refresh a bit and then search for this EC2. Let's see, we have this role, right? And it is right now, it is available. So see, modify IAM role, let's refresh it, and I see the role is currently present, EC2, and let's update the IAM role. Awesome. So my IAM role is updated, and check if the instance has the IAM role now. Yes, EC2 instance role is updated, and this role has a read-only access. Now if we go back to EC2 instance and run the same command, we see one IAM folder is created. What is inside this IAM folder? If we check, we have security credentials. Oh my god, let's check what is inside of it. So we give the same thing, IAM / we give security credentials, and that's it. We see EC2 instance role, this is our role name. Wow. Now let's copy this one and then paste it, and paste the, okay, where is this one, copy and then paste the same thing, EC2 instance role. Awesome. We see here now what we see a problem. We see that with this URL everyone can access this access key ID, secret key ID, and its token. What does it mean? So anyone who have access to this particular role or this instance profile role, or even anyone has access to this instance, they can read our data throughout your AWS account because it has a read-only AWS access. So now imagine if we are using instance metadata version 1 where there is no token mechanism, it's only a request response method, and I have one EC2 instance where is a IAM profile attached, and this IAM profile I can access this access key ID, secret key ID, and its token itself, then anyone can do anything. I can read any service, associated services within the AWS particular account. And imagine if That particular instance profile does not have a read-only access, it has an administrative access or kind of a deletion permission of any resources. So any evil person will take this access key ID, secret key ID or token from this metadata service inside the EC2 instance, and then they can delete the service, right? And you don't know who has done that, because the instance profile role has done that. So this is why it is very much important to protect the metadata service, because we can configure this access key ID, secret key ID token to our local code base, and even we can run from our in our local code or our local terminal, and we can do multiple things from there. We can do multiple evil things. We can delete the entire infrastructure from there. So this is very much important. This is very much important to protect this metadata service and to use it in a defined way. That's why the token based approach is always exemplary, and this token based approach is always kind of AWS always says that go ahead and with this instance metadata version 2, and I also recommend to use it as it is, because this is much more secure. So thanks a lot for being here and listen to this tutorial. Please leave some comments about the content and how you like it. If you like this video, kindly like and share with your friends and spread knowledge. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If you subscribe, you will get notified whenever there is any new content coming in. Thanks a lot again, and I hope this video is informative for you, and hope to see you in next video. Till then, see you. Goodbye.